Hey, what's up, you guys? And thank you for joining me today. It is Saturday, the 15th of August, 2015. And I thought I would do a cool little Bible study because I don't know, it's been a while since I did one of these. But I'm going to take it from the Berean Church of the Great God. They write really cool devotionals. I've been sending them to my friend, and he just gave me word about how he's been reading them and how insightful they are, and how deep with information they can be sometimes. And I used to, when I was really young, I got drawn into listening to the mainstream Christians, the ones that have gigantic churches and they're on TV running around and whatnot, coming out with Bible resources like it's nobody's business. But the fact of the matter is like, you kind of see past all of that, like like when you start to mature more in your faith, you start to crave deeper insight into the word. And that's kind of like what it means in Hebrews 5 by we want the lean meat of the gospel. We want the lean meat of the word. We don't crave milk like a baby anymore. You know what I mean? We don't crave, we're grown now. We want real, we want something nice. We want something to help us in our knowledge and in the, growing in the grace of God and whatnot. We want something to help us and keep us anchored, right? We strengthen our faith through reading the word. This one's definitely one I recommend, though. Go check it out. This one's today's devotional is taken out of Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. Let's see what this is all about, shall we? Beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the basic principles of the world, and not according to Christ. Colossians 2:8 through 10 gives another general definition of Gnosticism, as well as how to combat it. Paul is writing about a philosophy like Stoicism, not a specific religion such as Judaism. This is important to recognize since in verse 16, Paul mentions the Sabbath and holy days, and it is commonly assumed that Paul condemns their observance. Yet he does not. He warns against a philosophy that disparage the feasting and joyous observance of the Sabbath and holy days. This is why Paul tells the Colossians to let no one judge you with regard to eating, drinking, or observing the weekly and annual Sabbaths, rather than what is commonly read in Colossians 2:16. There is no reason to keep the Sabbath or holy days. Christians in Colossae were being pressured by the aesthetic society around them, which would have looked down on their feasting. This is confirmed in the rest of Colossians 2, which deals primarily with asceticism. I've never heard of that. See especially Colossians 2:21 through 23. Some branches of Gnosticism adhered to asceticism as a way to free the eternal spirit by living regimented, plain, and insular lives. Conversely, some Gnostics went to the other extreme, practicing hedonism, believing that what they did with their bodies did not make any difference since only spirit mattered. Oh yeah, we have really no excuse in our time for not having good theology. You just are lacking understanding because you're not studying, and that's just what it is. It's not that I'm trying to be rude or mean to you, but that's what it is. It's the Word of God's very plain. It's simple to understand. It's really man that makes everything very confusing and can lead people away from what the Word says, because you know what I mean. Sometimes they goof up and they approach people the wrong way about these things and whatnot. So. And they'll give you false information. There's a lot of people out there, like the guy who wrote Zeitgeist, Peter Joseph. Man, that guy's, to me, one of the slimiest guys out there, man. The blasphemy in that documentary is outrageous. It's absolutely ignorant to believe any of the stuff that he claimed in that documentary. And I know that that's going way off the topic, but he's also someone who broke open 9/11 and, it was an insight, questioning it and all that. Now he doesn't even believe that, so he's like, you know what I mean? This guy's like super hardcore controlled opposition. I wouldn't even take anything seriously. Like if you're watching Netflix or History Channel or whatever, don't take anything on there too seriously, man, because you got to go and do some other research behind what people are telling you about, because they'll seem to like tell you certain things, but they'll glamorize like stuff, They'll focus in on one issue and and it all has like there's all an agenda behind that. Like, they could try to twist history to make you see things differently. And we need a biblical lens to see the world that we are in better, because, it's obscured by society and by everything. So, Paul says that this philosophy and its associated doctrines were plausible, but they were not based on solid arguments. He calls them vain deceit in the King James Version, or empty deceit in the New King James Version. I wouldn't recommend anyone reading the New King James Version. Read a different one. There's a lot of different translations that are a lot better. They may sound good depending upon one's inclination, but they endanger church members. The apostle writes that they would be spoiled, King James Version, which does not necessarily mean being corrupted, but rather of being plundered. Hence, the New King James Version's use of cheated. So this empty philosophy would rob or cheat them of their faith, their hope, their understanding of God, their relationship with God, their vision, and the purpose that God is working out. Once introduced, it would begin to steal away all of their true spiritual riches. Paul also provides two possible sources of this unsteady philosophy: the traditions of men and the rudiments of the world. Examining the rudiments of the world first will help to explain the traditions of men. Other translations call them the elements of the world, the basic principles of the world, or the powers of the world. The basic principle of the world, let's see. So in using this term, Paul is referring to the demonic powers that make this world, this cosmos, what it is. The source of this philosophy of salvation through special knowledge is Satan and the demons. This explains why, when we read the histories of various religions and their branches, the same patterns arise time and again. Man does not have it within himself to pass along accurately and dependably ideas that go back to the very beginning. With an incessant drumming, the powers of the world keep prompting men and women in the same vain deceits that directly contradict the truth about God and his purpose for mankind. Humans certainly play a role in handing down these traditions. Sunday school teachers and theologians perpetuate the Gnostic myth of the immortality of the soul, of eternal consciousness, or of progressive revelation of each person having a spark of goodness within that just needs to be fanned into flame, and of each soul or spirit existing before in heaven and returning there upon death. Men pass these traditions on to other men, but the powers of the spirit world keep these messengers on their track and blinded to the truth. The last phrase in Colossians 2:8, not according to Christ, is a simple one, but it encapsulates what this is all about. Not a single branch of Gnosticism had the truth about Jesus Christ. That knowledge can be found only in God's Word. This was written by David C. Grab. Amen. All of the cults out there are really based on they say the Bible. We get our beliefs from the Bible, but we need to read a different book. What? You know what I mean? Like how that contradicts itself. You see what I mean? Like a lot of the philosophies and ideologies that the world follows, they're self-defeating. They have no substance. They can't hold any water. There's no, you know what I mean? There's no argument for them because they've all been debunked. Back in the church ages and the dark ages, back in those, in the 14th century, there was a lot of people that used to argue about these kind of things, and they would do it before people like priests and government authorities, and they would do this so that the doctrine was made plain to everybody, what the belief is all about. The only way that you can have the truth stolen from you, man, is if you're willing to go along with it. There's some people who don't want to hear this. And it says in the book of Proverbs that the righteous are as bold as lions, but the wicked flee when no one pursues them. Whenever you speak the truth to people who don't want it, they run away from you. They go up against you because it's the fact of the matter that they're living a lie, and yet they don't want to be exposed. They want to hide in the darkness. You have to pray for people because only God can save them. And if you want to intercede for them, that's good. Do that. But the fact of the matter is, it's dangerous. You're playing a dangerous game. This world is not a game. It's a test. It's where you're going to end up in the afterworld. What kind of a place do you want to end up in? A place where you're rejoicing and happy forever, or a place where you're burning in hell forever? That's not a place that I want anyone to go to, even if you guys want to do whatever you guys want to do to me. You know what I mean? It's amazing to me that people cannot be happy for somebody that was saved by God, that used to be miserable and sad and depressed. It really makes the Bible more true to me that men are wicked, and that the heart is so desperately wicked and deceitful above all things that you can't even be happy for someone that praises God. To you, it's just a bunch of, you know what I mean, of crazy looking stuff. But I'll tell you, man, I used to be that way too. I used to go to church and I used to think like it's really weird how people praise God in church and whatnot. But that helped me. That helped me actually understand it more. And it you know, kind of like I like to use the burning bush. If anybody's been to my Facebook page, my background is the burning bush and Moses with, you know, his sandals. He's taking off his sandals and he's going up to the bush. It's crazy because that is how, you know what I mean, God works. He is like, he shows you something and it's up to you to be like, well, I'm going to check that out. Because that's what Moses did. Moses was chosen by God because he observes stuff. He doesn't just dismiss something. He doesn't just see a bush burning and not being consumed and go, well, that's an everyday thing, you see. Or, you know, that's nothing new or whatever. No, he was like, well, that's kind of strange. So he walked over there and he saw it, and God came out and talked to him one-on-one. And I thought that, you know, that's pretty symbolic of how it is in our lives. There's something that has happened along the road in your life where God has shown you his power or his presence or his you know what I mean? Did I say power? Yeah, power or presence or whatever it is, his glory. And I know I've seen it, and I make sure that I don't forget that. You know, God saved me from a lot of things, and I'm grateful for that. But he ultimately wants to spark that interest in you too and get your attention somehow. Maybe it's through this video, I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, this stuff isn't like for entertainment. You know what I mean? I have a lot of joy. I enjoy this. I like to be enthusiastic when I talk about, you know, my faith. That's what everybody should do. You should be happy to do that. I once heard some pastor's kid tell me about some guy who was sharing his like an experience that he had in church or whatever, and she was like, he seemed like he enjoyed talking about that or whatever. It's like, duh. Like, it's sad that, like, you know, you're brought up in church your whole life and you don't understand, like, you seem not to understand anything. You think that it's, like, embarrassing or you should be ashamed to go out and share your faith and to act like what God calls you to act like, and, you know, be righteous and upright and honest with people. And it's crazy because they'll go to church and they'll put on this facade and they'll do this, they have this whole little, you know what I mean, regimen. They'll have this whole little, like, routine, but they never get it in their head. This is not, like, a country club, you guys. This isn't about having some kind of a social gathering and it's for recreation. This is about the truth of the universe. It's really amazing that, you know, God's given us the answers to everything in life, and the most undermined thing, and it should be suspicious to you that a lot of people try to get you not to believe in God and not to read the Bible. That should be suspicious to you. You should ask, why is everybody trying to keep me away from what this has to say? Well, because it frees you. Man ultimately wants to manipulate you. They want to use you. They want to do something for themselves through you. They don't really care about you. So they don't want you to read what the truth is, because the truth sets you free and nothing can enslave you again. You'll be free in your spirit. You'll be free out here to manifest in the outward. You know what I mean? You'll become bolder than you ever thought you could ever be in your life. You could be a person who is upright and could speak out for what he believes in. Your beliefs are your personal property and no one can take them away from you. It is unlawful for anybody in this world to tell anybody what they're supposed to believe and what they're not supposed to believe. It's up to you to go and find that. It's like the precious jewel or whatever, the pearl of great value or price that you want to find out in the field. You know what I mean? You know, it's not just any jewel. It's not just any prize. It's a very precious thing. And it should be sought out, and it should be, you know what I mean, kind of like appreciated for what it is. The truth is, you know, to a lot of people, it's looked at as something that you don't need in life. Like, it's indispensable. Like, it, you know what I mean? It doesn't profit you anything. Well, the distractions can sometimes get you to be deceived like that. But if we look away from the distractions and we ask ourselves good questions and we're brutally honest with ourselves, you will become free. So don't be fearful, but be bold and be approaching the truth for whatever, you know, God draws you to do. You know what I mean? I know that He's kind of pulling your interest somehow, like I said, with the burning bush. So it'd be wise to observe and check out the matter for yourself instead of believing what everyone else does. God bless you.